Welcome, everybody. It's another exciting edition of the Sports Hole. I'm your host, Luke. With me, as always, XFL Jim, Rock and Roll Matty Goldberg. What's up, guys?
What's up, boys?
What's up?
How we doing?
I think Jim and I look insane for different reasons.
How so?
Well, he's got his look and I got my look.
I'm also just red. I'm looking at myself right now. I am red as fuck.
He looks like an opponent of Tom Selleck's on Magnum PI, inverted Tom Selleck.
What was the? That was Magnum. That was the. I was gonna ask what the fucking character.
Well, we did cover.
Who's the main character? PI.
We did cover Magnum TA.
Magnum TA.
Yeah, the wrestler.
That's right. What was that on? What was that show? I don't remember.
Dark Side.
But what was the context of it? I don't remember.
He got in a car accident. He was a handsome guy. The stars were the limits, and then I think he was in a wheelchair the rest of his life.
Oh, okay. I do remember this now. Yeah, that's right. He had his whole show. It's funny how many of these we've watched now.
I know, it's a lot of the same stories.
Yeah. Like, oh, okay. A guy fucked up his career. I get it. I've heard of that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've heard of that one. You guys watching any basketball?
I've got a little bit.
Yeah, NBA and NHL. Sure, I'm watching it right now. I'm watching the Celtics advance.
Yeah, Celtics finally pulling away, put us out of the misery of this series.
But the Cavaliers got a lot of injuries.
Right, which sucks because they might have a chance, especially with Devin.
Once you lose Donovan Mitchell, it's pretty much over.
Both Celtics series were like really weird where I felt like every game was kind of a blowout in one direction or another.
Yeah.
Like, the two Celtics losses are both them getting blown out.
Yeah, it's weird. Like they'll drop one they shouldn't. I think they just get kind of too, looking ahead, I guess.
But how do they keep doing this in the playoffs?
Who's that?
I don't know, especially against inferior teams too. I don't know.
Who's that?
The Celtics.
They're not that good.
You think that's
but
just
they're
what
also
it is?
blowing out, like they blew out the Heat in like every other game it felt like, and then they blew out the Celtics.
Game 2 is very
the
odd.
Cavs.
I think they get a false self of themselves, like where they're just gonna walk away with it, and then they kind of show up without that intensity. They get their clock clean, and then they reset that anger again. I don't know.
But how does that happen like consistently every series?
Well, bet against them every game twos. I mean, that's the way to go, right?
Well, okay, so Jimmy Butler was out during was it the full series or just some of the series?
Full
series. So then Donovan Mitchell's been out in games for this one, as well as some other injuries for the Cavs. And whoever they face next, if it's the Knicks are riddled with injuries too. Like this could be, I feel like the East has been this way, with Toronto a few years ago.
It's a lot easier.
The Bucks a few years ago, whereas like these teams are sort of advancing based a lot off of other teams' injuries. So
yeah, that road is a lot easier than the West for sure.
Right. Well, especially when you have teams battling.
I think Dallas can beat Boston, Minnesota can beat Boston. Denver.
We know. Yeah, I was gonna say we know Denver can.
I think even Oklahoma City. I think Boston is like probably 4th or 5th best team in the NBA, and they're the best team in the East. So
yeah, this is weird. It's starting to look like.
That's why if you're LeBron, go back to Cleveland.
It would be nice. I think he's got to get a little more help too if he goes, but the path would be much easier.
Him and Finesse Mitchell together, or Donovan Mitchell together, will be a lot of fun.
The comedian Finesse Mitchell.
Wow. So. Close enough.
So over in the West though, since Shaq got on TNT and told Jokic to his face that he thought Shai Gilgeous-Alexander should have won the MVP and not him. Jokic has won 3 games in a row after everybody counted the Nuggets out.
That's wild.
He's averaged 33, 11, and 7.5 assists.
Yeah.
Like everybody, like this time last week or whenever it was like, oh shit, it's over. Like Minnesota's the new team, they're the new powerhouse. Anthony,
I don't know what happened.
The face of the NBA.
Yeah, they were heading
you
that
can't
way.
deny Anthony Edwards, but this Minnesota team is not looking as advertised in the first 2 games.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
because
mean-
Jokic is like the best. I mean, he's the best player in the world right now.
It's insane to watch because he's also like, it's not like just the plays he makes, whether it's a nice, awesome pass or a, you know, a weird shot that looks like it shouldn't go in, but does. But like he just sort of sees the game like 2, 3 plays ahead. So if he passes it to, like in hockey, they have the hockey assist where you pass it to one guy and he passes it to another, and then like he should get credit for that too because he really sets up plays ingeniously.
He's what they call a cerebral player, Luke.
A cerebral. He's a smart one.
He's a smart fella out there just playing the
What
basketball.
His coach said he should be a Mensa, but I don't think he knows what that is.
I
know a guy in Mensa.
Stuttering John Melendez.
Yeah, 163 IQ.
I got to get a
shit.
sound cue for every time you mention
Well,
stuttering.
he said he's in Mensa, but he's not in anymore because he doesn't want to pay the dues for the registration dues.
Oh, I'm sure they're a fortune.
But then
I know another guy that's in Mensa.
Who's that?
Tom Herman, football coach.
Yeah, they go, show us your Mensa card. He goes, I can't find it. It's underneath some papers or something.
That was my second favorite story to come out of Texas football when Tom Herman was there.
What happened to him? Is he still coaching somewhere?
Yeah, Florida Atlantic.
Damn, he was like the hot guy, the hot assistant. And then he had an affair, and that was it.
And then that monkey like attacked a stripper.
Yeah, that was
right. That was his assistant coach.
I know. But that was my favorite story to come out of his time at Texas. Was,
the news cycle goes.
That was the best story ever.
It is. It's a great story.
Yeah. The news cycle goes so fast. That would be like a story we'd all remember, but there's so many crazy stories in sports off the field. Like that's just like Tuesday in the world of sports.
No, nothing will ever top Pole Assassin for me. That was the stripper's name was Pole Assassin.
Oh, Pole Assassin.
But we forgot about this.
I never forgot, Maddie.
You should get a personalized jersey that says Pole Assassin.
I almost forgot who Tom Herman was.
If I ever get a Texas jersey, I'll get one that says Pole Assassin.
That would be awesome. And you should get one. And if any fans are listening and want to, be a patron of Jim's and get him that jersey, we will not deny you your wish.
I'll show it off too on the Sports Hole Instagram.
But speaking of Shaq, though, so there's rumors are out that this might be the final year of Inside the NBA on TNT.
You know what? I was going to talk about the NBA because they had a really good thing with Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy and Mike Breen.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrible now. Like, JJ Redick is awful. The girl is okay, but JJ Redick just doesn't have it. And it just is like Mike Breen is very good, but he's doing it on his own. They had such good chemistry.
Well, it's a good dynamic, You get like the straight play-by-play guy, you get the just dumbass Mark Jackson, and then you get a wild,
but their chemistry was so good.
I know, yeah. It's like back in the '90s with
and Inside the NBA has the best chemistry.
Steve Turtle or whatever his name was.
and the Inside the NBA is probably the best.
It is if they hate, even when they're being haters like Shaq was the other night, they're still insanely entertaining, and it's still something you don't get in any other sport. No matter how hard the NFL or college football tries to roll out McAfee or whatever, you just don't. It's not the same. Everything else feels forced. Whereas these guys just.
I don't even think the new people are forced. I think they don't even know how to do it on doing the games, and then. Like, I don't know what it's about, whether it's money or people want to retire or whatnot, but
this is because they're
switching over to
TNT might lose their broadcast rights. So there's a chance somebody else could get them all under contract.
Who's gonna get the NBA then? NBC?
It was like a Comcast thing, I think. I don't really quite know exactly where that lands.
They keep changing these networks. It's like I just heard it. Netflix is going to do some NFL games this year.
Yeah,
it's so frustrating.
It is. It's weird. That's another thing too. Is the NFL's gonna. So the NBA, this sucks for them because they used to own Christmas. It used to be very fun watching a lot of great games on Christmas, much as whereas the NFL owns Thanksgiving, but of course the NFL will never stop until it has every day
Everything.
to themselves every day. They're going to find a way to play 365 season too. I know it.
So
But yeah, so they're going to be doing 2 games on Christmas and they're going to be broadcast on Netflix.
yeah.
So you got
Fuck
to be
you.
streaming these motherfuckers.
And that's a double fuck you because guess what? When it was just on like cable, it's easy to switch over to watch an NBA game and whatnot.
So frustrating.
Now
you
you're
gotta
going to be on
log into an
Netflix.
amp.
You have to switch an entirely different app. Fuck that, dude.
This is
I
not
mean,
good.
yeah, I read an article. It's like you're gonna have to buy a new app to watch the NFL, and it's just like
Eventually they'll just get their own app and say, fuck you. You have to pay $50 a season or $100 a season for the NFL. And people will do it. People will do it. Yeah, it'd probably be like 500. People will do it.
$100 is cheaper than what it is now.
It's funny because you think you're getting to an era where you'll be able to see everything, right? And now it's getting more fragmented than ever.
You can't see everything if you spend a bajillion dollars.
Right, yes. You got to look like one of those nutty people from the 80s that had a giant fucking satellite in their backyard.
And
I mean,
also it can go away at any moment when contracts with like certain things end.
Yeah.
Like say a movie or a TV show, guess what? It's not on Netflix anymore. Now it's on Hulu. Now you got to go here.
Buy Hulu.
Netflix credit for actually investing in something other than 1 million terrible fucking movies and shows that they've been putting out in the last 5 years.
They got to keep moving.
Also, it looks like Disney and Warner Brothers get first offer on bids for the NBA.
So that means like Hulu or
like
I think
ESPN and all that shit.
HBO though too is
it could be on Max because Max plays a bunch of that stuff.
Max is playing some games now already.
Yeah.
Like this is insane. I don't know how they're going to. Eventually, they're going to have to make a more streamlined way to consume all
cable.
It is hard to navigate.
We didn't know how good we had it.
We did not.
Probably the best was actually just satellite TV, which had all the cable stations and all the specialty sports associations on there too. So you could get the NFL package, the NBA package, all that stuff, and then still have pretty much most of the cable stations too.
That are just those like jacked Fire Sticks you could buy off Amazon that just have everything.
Oh, like the one plugged into my TV right now? Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
That's a good one.
That's the future right there.
I like it a lot. Also, opening up the NFL season, we got the Jets at the 49ers. Will we see more than 5 minutes of Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, let's hope so.
Double it
if
this
you
year.
Get
10 minutes.
If you get 6 plays, it's better than last year.
True.
So it's gonna be
hard to be worse.
Yeah.
Who's their backup?
They assigned somebody. I think Tyrod Taylor right now. And I think they drafted someone in the middle. Oh yeah, from Florida. The guy who broke his leg.
The guy from Florida State?
Florida State.
Jordan Travis.
Yeah, and he's a project, but you know
he was good. He was good.
I like that move. If you can get him undervalued because he had a broken leg, then you don't need him right away, and he's not a big enough. He's no threat to Rodgers, so Rodgers doesn't have to feel like he's got to look over his shoulder.
Zach Wilson wasn't a threat to Rodgers either. That's for sure.
No, definitely not. And the way Penix might be to Cousins.
That was an interesting one.
And they got Braylon Allen. I like that too. That's a nice running back room they have for the Jets.
I love Breece Hall. He's very good.
Oh yeah, he's amazing. Did anybody watch Caitlin Clark's debut?
I heard it was very rocky.
She had 20 points, but she also had 10 turnovers, which is like...
Yeah, there were some moments were good and bad.
Also, it's very weird, though, because in the NBA, your season as a collegiate player is done by... Most people are done by April.
Yeah, literally a month ago she was playing.
Yeah. And then you have a whole summer and summer leagues and a little bit more of an expanded preseason. And then you don't really start playing, I think, until like October for NBA. Whereas Caitlin Clark literally is playing the next month. Probably just had about enough time to rust up from the tournament.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to be a lot more rocky. The fact that she scored 20 is still very good, though. And I mean, she will adjust to the speed of the game and the complexity.
It was like a rough first quarter, and then she turned it on. I mean, she looked good.
Yeah. So we'll see. And
how long's the preseason?
I think that was the first
that
regular.
was the first
game.
regular. I think they only
That
had
was
one or
regular
two-
season?
Yeah, they had like
Yeah.
one or two
Okay.
preseason games. Like that was it. So
Yeah, you're right.
yeah, so we'll keep an eye on her. See how. I'm just more curious also about the cultural impact and see if the
And the
WNBA
ratings.
can.
We'll find out about the ratings next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking
But
of
also,
ratings,
like, how do you watch these games?
What do you mean?
So I'm looking up the scores right now. There's a WNBA game going on right now between the Chicago Sky and the Wings.
well, I think this game last night was on ESPN.
Yeah.
So do I have to it's just ESPN Plus?
Depends.
I don't know. This is a good mystery.
Yeah, like how do you actually like view these games?
It is funny though that finally we're like openly talking about being interested in it. We still.
Well,
have
I've tried to look before to find games to like when I'm betting on them, and it's always been a little difficult.
I think it's basically like ESPN or nothing. I don't know. Like if a
I
game
would say ESPN or
is
ESPN
a
2.
big enough game that'll be on, on ESPN or one
It's
of
got to
the
be on. It's got to be on Plus then.
Yeah. Or if you just have a ESPN cable subscription.
I don't have
No,
ESPN.
ESPN right now is showing the Avalanche versus the Stars.
Oh, weird.
watching that.
So that's what they're doing. ESPN, like actual ESPN, is showing hockey because I always forget that they also have the NHL right now. Because ESPN never promotes the NHL.
They'll try to cram in as many Clark's games as they can. But they're obligated to show these hockey and basketball playoff games, so it's gonna be hard, but I'm sure when it slows down, they'll get back, they'll get into it, especially if the demand from the public is still high.
Well, if it was up to Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker, Caitlin Clark's ass would be in the kitchen.
Crazy speech for a college commencement is crazy.
Do you have the speech or do you have just the quotes?
I just have the quotes. I haven't seen any of the speech going around online, but
Do you think he'll get cut?
No.
He's a good enough kicker.
No,
It doesn't matter
whether he's good or bad. It's just people will just shit on him for it because it was stupid opinions.
I don't know. You would have got cut a couple years ago.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. No. It's more, I don't know how to describe it and how to break it down, other than, than someone saying a, pejorative, bad word against a specific people, but, women. Yeah, this is just,
homosexuals.
But this is like where everyone's just laughing at it, like no one's clutching their pearls. Everyone's just kind of.
Why did he give a commencement?
He's a pro athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a kicker. He's a kicker, Maddie. Come on.
Well,
he's a kicker.
He's also got a great percentage, but I mean, look, like commencement speeches are sometimes they get humorous people.
Sorry for interrupting. I always just feel like it's weird when they get a commencement from someone who didn't go to the school.
Well, that's most of the schools.
I know it's weird. I don't like it.
Let me
it's like fun. It's like bringing in somebody silly that like they brought in Borat one year to Harvard, and it's funny. It's like, kind of loosens everything up.
Yeah, this was pretty hysterical. I wish I would have been there. This is some snippet of what he said. I think it is you, the women, who have the most diabolical lies told to you. Like you've worked your ass off to get this degree, through high school and through 4 years at college, and now there's an NFL kicker up there that you don't know really who he is too much. And then this is speech. I think it is you, the women, who have the most diabolical lies.
I'm waiting for where he says something really fucked up, but I guess
he's saying the speech right now.
Maddie, what the fuck? I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world.
Yes.
I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say her life truly started when she started living her vocation as a wife and as a mother.
Yes, get in the kitchen, Isabel.
I'm on this stage today able to be the man that I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation.
Make that pot pie, Isabel.
I'm beyond blessed with the many talents God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class back in middle school would convert to the faith, become my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker.
Make me a snack or you're going to get a smack, Isabel.
Then he goes on to what he describes as the Church of Nice. The world around us says that we should keep our beliefs to ourselves whenever they go against the tyranny of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Butker said, we fear speaking truth because now, unfortunately, truth is in the minority.
That's
Then
right.
he wasn't done there. He decided to go after Pride Month, too. Not the deadly sin sort of pride that has an entire month dedicated to it, but the true God-centered pride that is cooperating with the Holy Ghost to glorify himself.
Fuck Women's History Month. Sorry. I just like testify.
That would have been funny if like they get people in the stands like throwing that out.
Yeah. You said it.
Yeah.
He
Get in the
basically
kitchen,
he
bitch.
basically went to like Liberty Light. So that his speech might play at the university he went to.
Look, if she's happy and that's the role she wants, more power to her, but I can't speak for every woman in that
I've definitely
situation.
known many of mothers who were not happy people. Okay.
No, most people are not
Many.
happy.
But this is a guy who like his whole career is like taking 3 steps and kicking a ball. It's like that's the whole extent of like
There's a lot of pressure.
there's pressure for sure, but like it's always funny in American culture, especially like someone gets famous for something and then they sort of get a microphone in front of their face.
And then they could like have opinions and like their opinion is important on everything.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's
athletes, actors, all the
things. It's so like, and this guy, I was always annoyed growing up with actors telling you how to vote and everything like that.
It's like you can do one meaningless skill, doesn't mean you can tell us how to vote.
Yeah, and the same goes for this bullshit too. Like this is, I mean, it's hysterical. I'm glad this guy did this, and it's gonna be funny watching him eat all this shit. And it's gonna be funny to see what people do at Chiefs games. This might offset the Taylor Swift annoyance if people can actually come up with a good troll job for
as long as he kicks the ball through the uprights, nobody's gonna give a fuck in a couple weeks.
No, but like opposing fans might come up with some clever
shit. They'll have a little fun with it.
It'll be funny.
As long as he still makes 90% of his kicks, nobody's gonna care.
Now he'll get replaced by Jake.
No, Matt, I'm not talking like him getting canceled or like getting kicked off the team for shit he says. I'm just saying he's just proven to be a big loudmouth idiot. So it's going to be funny to see what other people do to that. Hopefully they do shit clever instead of just bitch and moan, but we'll see.
I hope they just give him a lot of shit. It'd be very funny. I hope there's a lot of funny stuff to come out of it.
I hope so too. Speaking of funny shit, the Giants are going to be debuting on Hard Knocks in the first off-season edition.
So are they doing 2 again this year?
I guess. I don't know. What did no, this is like off-season edition.
Oh,
I don't know what that means.
Does that mean they might do 3? Because didn't they do they did preseason and in-season last year?
The problem with it is you need a colorful quarterback. There's not a more boring guy than Daniel Jones.
Yeah, but this is probably like a make or break year for him, Matty.
Still, he's not Mr. Electricity.
Yeah, but if he's anything like Eli, he will come up he will just be naturally funny without meaning to be.
Why would he be there?
Because he just looks awkward as fuck.
Nobody's ever heard him talk.
It's fair.
Have you ever heard him talk?
You're just not listening, Matty.
No, I'd like to listen. I don't want to kill his career either because he's kind of a make or break year, but you want a charismatic quarterback to make Hard Knocks work, and he's probably the most dull guy you will have.
What about Dable? Do you think he's
Dable will be
entertaining?
fun. Dable's
he looks like he gets pissed.
He's a hard head, so he flies off the handle, so he'll be fun. But I can't imagine Daniel Jones being entertaining in any form. Sorry, Dan.
No, Matty, I'm
should
with you.
apologize.
He's like extreme. He's like a bag of saltine crackers.
How long has he been in the league now? I don't know
Probably
anything
4
about
years,
him. Like, I
5
know
years.
nothing about him. I don't know what his voice sounds like.
He went to Duke. He's from North Carolina. He likes to play golf.
He was drafted in 2019.
Yeah.
Oh,
this will be his 5th year.
All right. Well,
if he gets cut from the Giants, do you think anyone else would pick him up? Who picks him up?
Yeah, I mean, as a backup, but
pick him up. But depending on that salary, though, I don't know.
He's not going to start. He's got to earn it again. Like somebody will sign him as a backup and maybe give him a chance to compete. But this is his last chance to start.
This man cannot take a natural picture. He looks hilarious in every picture I've ever seen him.
Well, there might be some humor to that, but as far as like being dynamic, I don't have a lot of hope for it. Brian Dable, I think, will be fun because he's a maniac, and maniacs are fun on Hard Knocks. But I'm holding my breath on
photo. He looks like
Daniel Jones.
He's being surprised. Like, huh? What? So you guys all watched the Tom Brady roast, right?
I caught it now.
So now he's regretting doing it now. Apparently his kids are getting a ton of flack.
No, I think it's Giselle. I think it's Giselle.
You don't think it's because like if I don't know, if I was a kid and like my friend's dad was on a roast or whatever, I'd be making fun of that kid too.
Especially when people are like, you put the jizz in Giselle.
Yeah.
Dude, he did it. He wanted to do it. It's no big deal. His kids will survive. His ex-wife will survive. Let's move on. It was good for the country. We needed humor. It was a return to like roast humor, which is fun. It was a good thing.
The roast of Tom Brady saved America.
He kind of did. And now he's walking it back, which is sad. But
well, he's basically saying like he doesn't care anything you do about him, but when it goes to Giselle or the kids,
he's protecting his kid. He's using his kids to protect his ex-wife, and whatever. She don't need protection.
No, she's like a super famous person. So
yeah, she don't need.
She's gonna get shit said about her anyway. So
of course,
I don't know. It's
his kids will survive. His kids live a pretty darn good life. I see the vacations they go on. I ain't. There's no tears for his fucking kids.
I'm not worried about his kids.
Yacht. No one's gonna talk shit.
When they go on skiing trips, they don't go to like the shit mountain in your fucking town. Like probably XFL gym. There's like a hill that all these.
Matty, I live in the middle of Nebraska. There's no hills here.
They didn't even make like a trash mountain like into a ski resort.
Nope.
Well, my point is, like, I grew up near ski slopes that sucked, He takes his kids to, like...
Aspen, baby.
Aspen, Utah, like, the best slopes with, like...
They go to the Alps.
$1,000 a night hotel.
At least $1,000 a night.
Let's not feel sorry for his kids. They'll survive the Tom Brady roast.
Realistically, he probably, like, rents a whole cabin and has, like, wait staff or something there.
Oh, it's got to be sick what he has. He probably rents out
checking into a hotel.
He probably rents out slopes that he gets slopes like private. Like he probably gets like 2 or 3 slopes that are his for him and his kids. Like Tom, don't let your wife will get over it. She's being a see you next Tuesday.
Oh, I love the Matty quip followed by sip out of the mug. That's a good image.
I like that. Harrison Butker.
I like that.
I'm going to get you a Harrison Butker jersey. Would you wear it, man?
If she was in the kitchen, this would all be okay. Tom, a little less worry about the roast. Get your daughter to learn more about working in the kitchen, serving her husband, being a good wife, making food for your husband, providing, bearing as many children as possible, and getting your husband slippers.
Yeah. Got to get the slippers.
What if does Harrison Butker now has custody of Tom's children?
Well,
you think that could happen?
I'm a Tom fan, but this bothers me because you did it. You got roasted. Giselle's making a big stink about it.
Also, you got $25 million for it too. So
tell her to chill.
Let's not forget that.
She got the hot karate instructor.
Right. Yeah, she got to move on right away.
And it's
Tom
like,
had to like go through
the public life.
Shitty season.
you've been blessed. Like Tom has been blessed to play football. She's blessed that she was born one of the most beautiful women in the world. She's benefited from it. She's made millions of dollars. She will survive. She got a little. They ribbed her a little. They made fun of it. She will survive.
No doubt. Jim, this is very exciting news. Did you see Jeff Fisher is now the new Arena League commissioner?
Yeah, all the people like banded together to try and out the old commissioner. And they got Jeff Fisher. He was an advisor on one of the teams. I think the team in Nashville. And now
What's
he's the
next for
commissioner.
Jeff? Next thing Jeff Fisher is going to be announced, assistant manager at Walmart in Skokie, Illinois.
Now you just wait. Vince McMahon is already making moves to buy the Arena League and turn it into something.
The
Because this
issue
is
is
sounding like the dark side of the ring coming up.
Yeah.
We're going to be covering.
Yeah, the issue is like there's still teams that are just like folding left and right. So hopefully, I mean, they probably should have waited a year. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. They're still playing games. Like they still,
Wow.
they're still like certain teams are playing. It's wild. It's like the Wild West of who.
I
gets to
would
play
assume
who.
the commissioner is not a job that anybody wanted for that league. It's not like, oh, I want to be the commissioner of the Arena Football League.
Well, they had a commissioner. They had a guy that was doing it, who was trying to run the whole thing. And
I
just fucked
understand, but
everything
that's
up.
not like a good job that you want.
A job that would pay millions of dollars?
Oh, I paid millions of dollars. What are you talking about?
I bet it did.
No way.
Much did.
Dude, that job is like minimum wage. The league is
The league isn't worth $1 million.
It's a
Well, it
it's
would
like
have
a
been
dump.
beforehand.
Did you ever
the
watch the
name was.
documentary about the USFL and they would talk about how you would get a check. I forget what the guy, he played on the Arizona Wranglers the first time around. And he'd say you would get checks on a certain day, and a lot of the players knew that like 3/4 of the checks would bounce. So they would all get in their cars and race to the bank.
That's how the
Because-
AAF was in
Yeah,
2019.
this is what the Arena Football League is like. It just sounds like all checks are bouncing, all stuff is like written in like money that isn't there. And I don't know why you'd want to be the commissioner, because you have to deal with that. And whether you were there at the beginning or not, now all that shit's gonna go on Jeff Fisher.
Jeff
know what
Fisher
he's
can deal
thinking.
with it, baby.
But hey,
No one handles
maybe you
pressure
deal
like
with it.
Jeff Fisher. God damn. Here's a weird story that's interesting. So Doug Gottlieb, I don't know if you guys.
He's back.
He's been on the radio forever still.
I thought about it because we haven't heard from him in a while.
He's on Fox Sports, so I'll hear
Yeah.
him once in a while when he's filling in for someone on my
Sure.
channel. But he's also now the head coach of the Green Bay men's basketball team.
Okay, you can't.
But he's
really do that.
he's keeping his radio show job.
Wait,
You
really?
know,
So
He's
I
one
think
of
in
those
certain
guys-
markets, he's like he comes on after Coward or somebody like
Yeah.
that. Like
he's one of those guys that was broadcasting basketball games and does sports talk radio. And I think he's decent, but he is so hated. I've never seen a guy more hated than him doing
there's something about him that's very Max Kellerman like.
Yes.
Like they have this big over the top personalities and it feels very forced and they're just calculating what they're going to do. And also they make a lot of jokes that don't land.
No, that is true.
And it's very funny. Yeah, he's so fucking annoying and he just talks like he's the smartest guy in the room. But this is very interesting though, because he's a sports journalist or commentator and a participant too. So he could conceivably be covering himself. Like, oh, did you see that?
Well, I think you got to choose one
Green
or the
Bay
other.
game? He's not, and apparently he used this to kind of like to keep his radio job. He said to Green Bay, like, I'll take less money if I can keep my radio job, and then you can use all that money for NIL and things like that. So I don't know. He just really wants to coach, which is like cool. I like to see it because put your money where your mouth is, smart guy.
Is he gonna not coach during the season?
What do you mean? Like,
I mean, I mean,
no,
do
I
the
think he's going to
radio.
broadcast year round. If you think about it, you know,
That's
you can go
nuts.
in. Yeah, I don't know. these kids have to go to school during the day, so you could
Yeah.
conceivably just record for your 3-4 hours or however long you're
Yeah,
on,
that's pretty nuts.
and then bounce over to the arena for coaching. But God, this guy's annoying as shit, though. I'll be
Yes, he
curious to
is.
see how good of a coach he is. All right, guys.
Probably not great. Spoiler, probably not great.
Not great. Well, definitely be keeping an eye on the Green Bay men's basketball program.
He used to coach there, Tony Bennett.
The singer, Tony Bennett?
No, the coach of Virginia.
Oh, yeah, that Tony.
No, the singer.
No, I like to pretend the singer did.
Yeah.
That's better. It's better memory. All right, guys, buckle up. Let's go.
I'm gonna.
I'm mixing it up.
I like it. Getting fresh with it.
Yeah.
Spin those tables, Luke.
The 1s and 2s. Dark Side of the Ring. Black Saturday.
Boom.
The Rise of Vince. This is an interesting episode because it talks about a particular incident which sort of foreshadowed Vince McMahon's rise and global domination of the wrestling
Seems
arena.
like they like to end the season with a Vince McMahon episode, like they did the steroid campaign. I think 2 years ago was the last episode.
I think shit was coming out while they had already recorded it. And it felt like they kind of put it back in there just at the end.
Yeah.
About Vince's allegation or accusation.
Shuffled it around a little bit.
And I love Dark Side of the Ring, but I thought this one was the least clear episode I've seen. Or it's the hardest to kind of follow the story.
I watched it a couple times. There were still things that didn't quite make sense to me.
Yeah.
I got the overall picture of it.
And I knew the story before.
Yeah. So as a lot of you guys know, back in the day, wrestling was run as territories. You go down to like Florida, Georgia, there was an organization there. You go up to the Carolinas, organization there. West, Southern Memphis, all the different organizations everywhere. And that was basically run by a governing body called the National Wrestling Association or Alliance.
Yeah.
And they basically would meet, as Cornette described it, like mafioso head families meeting to sort of talk about their territories and turf. And everything was sort of a gentleman's agreement, and people respected their territories and tried to work together in some capacity. But then you had Vincent K. McMahon. He buys WWF at the time from his father and doesn't tell his dad that because his dad wasn't going to sell him that company because he wanted to go globally with it.
Yes.
And Vince Sr. thought it was just a territory thing. So Vince sort of backed off from that and just said, no, I'll keep it as a territory. Buys it, kind of keeps things status quo for a little while. And then he decides he wants to nationalize it. But we'll move ourselves down to Georgia now, where Georgia Championship Wrestling is being run by a gay, well-dressed man named Jim Barnett. Barnett. He was a businessman. He did not fit in with the local norm of the heads of these territories, where the territory heads were usually just these good old boys or wrestlers themselves. He was strictly a businessman and was also described as being much more into fine art than actually caring about what was going on in the ring. So Georgia Championship Wrestling was aired at this time by TBS. And basically what Ted Turner did was he broadcast TBS into the satellite. This was before like cable was ubiquitous.
Yeah, it's called the Superstation.
Yeah. So that means if you had a satellite, you could see Atlanta programming anywhere you were. If you were
a lot of people were Braves fans all over the country.
Absolutely. Much like the way WGN is in Chicago now.
Yes.
Or had been forever. So, yeah, this was the first basically nationally televised wrestling show. And there was a wrestler named Ole Anderson, very, big star in wrestling, was one of the original Four Horsemen. They were
Yeah.
never technically brothers, the other
Oh.
Andersons. It
Okay.
was I think that was just a gimmick because
Yeah.
Anderson's last name isn't even Anderson. And they were all supposed to be related to some other older Anderson, I think. It was part of the gimmick. But yeah, one of the original Four Horsemen. And he was a major wrestler and the booker for GCWW. And then he became a part owner. And he figured that Mr. Barnett, was ripping his partners off because they weren't seeing any dividends. And that included the Briscoe brothers. And so he sided with them to take control of the company. And Ole Anderson was going to own. And he basically just forced out Jim Barnett from Georgia Championship Wrestling. And in 1983, the NWA, National Wrestling Alliance, has their annual meeting where Vince McMahon and Jim Barnett both resigned from the organization. So Jim Barnett was still representing Georgia Championship Wrestling at the time. And Vince McMahon said, fuck you guys, basically, which means I'm coming for you. I want it all. I'm not happy with this Northeastern Connecticut, New York territory. I want it all.
I want it all.
Maddie, I was just about to do that. We were right in sync there.
Do you want it now?
Always.
Great minds think alike.
So McMahon starts to basically he goes to other territories, finds who's airing, the local territories show on the local networks and buys the time. He offers them more money to air WWE on those stations instead. This is the beginning of his monopoly. And then at the same time, he also convinces the territory owners to send him videos of their wrestlers so he can put them on the show. But really, he was just using this as a scouting tapes to find their best stars, and sign them to WWE. He's a snaky guy, that Vince McMahon.
We know that.
I'm beginning to suspect it.
For how big he is, he's always been like a sneaky backstab. I always picture him as like an evil guy hunched over, like twiddling his fingers, but he's also just a hulking man.
He is. I never realized that growing up until
he's
he was always like in a suit until he started to wrestle and he was like in a tank top. I'm like, oh, holy shit, this guy's jacked. And he actually always has been. So Vince is monopolizing all the talent. And so Georgia Championship Wrestling is going downhill under Ole's direction. The other shareholders, including the Briscoe brothers, decide, you know what? Let's get Ole out of here. Ole catches wind, makes him go to a hotel room, slices open his own face, and makes everyone sign a blood oath that they have to offer to sell to him first. They can't sell to anybody outside. The Briscoe brothers agree. But then, of course, Ole, but what, Maddie?
No, I'm just saying.
Yes. There's always a but. But the problem is Ole still was not paying them any company dividends. The company was continuing to suffer. So the Briscoe brothers share their shares and they find other shares to sell to Vince. And Vince gets a 67.5% of Georgia Championship Wrestling, which includes the TBS show. This was the hot item. He goes in right away and fires everyone. Fires them all. And then Vince puts himself on the show and then basically doesn't use any of the old Georgia wrestlers and just starts airing tapes of various WWE matches.
Have you ever seen the official Black Saturday show?
No.
So it starts out with the Georgia Championship Wrestling, and then you think you're gonna see it, and then you see Vince. He's like, "Hello, everybody.
Yeah,
we're up north. This is WWF. We're gonna be seeing some fine wrestlers tonight." And it was a shock because all these people love their heroes, their Dusty Rhodes, their Flair, the
good old boys.
Yeah, maybe the.
It's not wrestling; it's wrestling.
Yeah. And it was like stunning for these fans because you're looking so forward to seeing your heroes and your villains on Saturday. And you probably don't know any of these WWF guys, and you don't know who Vince McMahon is. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So it's a shock. Like when you're tuning into your favorite program. Like imagine if when you tuned into Dukes of Hazzard and Bo and Luke Duke were replaced by somebody else.
Or imagine if you were going to watch NFL and they're like, we have a UFL game. You'd be pissed.
Yeah. Or when the scab season in 87, I think it was like,
like if they were just like, instead of watching the Chiefs versus the Bengals, you're going to see the Panthers versus the Guardians. You'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't appreciate that.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Shots fired.
But respect though. Still love you, Matty.
So fans hated it. They hated Vince McMahon. They wanted all their dirty boy Southern wrestlers. And Ole, seeing the writing on the wall, decides to sell his portion to Vince. And with that money, Ole gets a little smart and he starts a new company with basically all the same old staff, and then gets Ted Turner at TBS to give him a new time slot to basically have a reincarnation of Georgia Championship Wrestling,
which would be WCW.
Yeah.
What's funny about it is like when Cornette talks about it, he's like, I thought about it a lot. He's thought about this. He's analyzed this from he's consumed by this shit. That crazy Cornette.
Yeah, totally. So Vince, his time in the South is not going well. He too sees the writing on the wall, and he decides to sell the Georgia Championship Wrestling and the time slot, basically, because he was going to lose his time slot anyways, because as soon as it was legally allowed, Ted Turner was going to can him. He didn't want him on the network. Then Vince sells it to Jim Crockett Promotions, just another territory. They take over for it. But the thing is, Vince used that money. It was $1 million. He used that to create WrestleMania.
So everybody won.
And yeah, but the WrestleMania angle is what really prompted up the WWE.
Absolutely.
And got the ball rolling on a full scale monopolization of it. So that was
it's pretty ballsy because too, he figured like our strategy is like, let's get our guys in the South for people who don't see our guys to see them. And then he realized maybe the better way to go about it is like, let's just be so massive that all these other parts of the country can't deny us. And that's essentially what happened because of how big WrestleMania was. So he kind of changed his strategy. Nevertheless, I guess I feel for those fans that woke up thinking they're going to watch their Georgia wrestling and got Vince McMahon pushing his shit.
Well, I think what he could have done was just keep it basically the same and then do crossover events, like a National League and American League.
Yeah.
And that way they could have more organically learned each other's wrestlers, and you still could have made the top wrestlers out of those.
Well, then he really wanted to make his company national though. So
yeah,
he wants to just combine it all. But I see what you're saying too.
Well, they could have done that. Eventually you could have just combined it all. But as far as a more of a slower rolled out approach,
I don't know if Vince McMahon knows like how to slow. I don't know if he knows slow.
No, he doesn't. And he also kind of does what he wants to do.
And he's going to jizz in all the holes.
Pretty much.
Case, all the territories. So basically, and then a lot of the talking heads on the show were all in consensus that this was going to happen. Someone was going to monopolize wrestling.
Yeah.
No matter what, because of cable television. Cable television was going to allow somebody
That's
to go.
what they kind of said. Like, if it wasn't Vince, it would have been somebody else. They would have figured this out.
And they think Vince is probably the guy who was going to do it the best anyway. So,
and he probably did. I mean, the 80s for what WWF was a massive mainstream thing.
Yeah, and they close out talking about a lot of Vince's recent scandals and whatnot. It felt kind of like it was just thrown in there.
You could do a whole season on that.
I don't know why they threw that in there when it really all that deserves its own
They probably
show,
probably felt like since they're talking about him at all, they just like have to mention him.
They should. I think you're right, Maddie. They should do like either a whole season or some multi-part series just on Vince McMahon. It's fascinating. It's like the most American story.
You
He's a crazy character.
You could literally do a 10-part Netflix documentary.
They should make a movie about him.
That they could, but they could do a 10-part documentary.
Yeah, I would love to see a lot of material. I mean, because it like just getting into this guy's mind from a business aspect is fascinating.
Well, also,
and then seeing what he does with the accumulated power, also while trying to pose as like a family man too, while involving all of his family in it. And
also 1996, they're dead. They're left for dead. They're dying. Their shows are they're playing high school gyms. WCW just bought Razor and Diesel. They're getting their asses kicked. And it looked like it was going to be over for Vince. And he wouldn't quit. He went extreme and he started kicking ass. And luckily Austin took off. Like the Austin character, and then with The Rock, they gained momentum, but they were this close to like being destroyed.
Yeah, and it's like, boy, Vince looks so bad now too. He looks like a puppet. He looks like a puppet of Ronald Reagan with a mustache on it. It is a bizarre look, and it's strange. Terrible. And I know he's 82, and
he did a shitload of steroids.
Right, but it's weird because I'm always curious about these steroid people, because I'm like, how long can this take you? Because you see these guys that are like jacked into their 70s and whatnot, but it seems like when you get 80, it doesn't matter what
you never lose your muscles. Trust me.
You still got them, Matty?
Still got them.
Still got them.
Still got that 12-pack.
Rock and roll. All right, guys. Anything else you want to say about Dark Side or the rest of the?
No, it was a great season, and we want to cover the Iron Claw next week.
Yeah, Jimbo, you want to do Iron Claw next week? It's on
HBO.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So we'll.
I saw it already too.
Did you? Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll go in deep.
I have mixed feelings about it. Well, I'll talk about it next.
I thought it was overall pretty good. I'll leave.
It was good. It wasn't as good as I thought it could be.
Well, save it all for next week, man. Yeah. You put a lid on that for now. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week for another great edition of the Sports Hole. Later. Bye-bye.
Sports Hole.